Hey Geeks, what's going on? My name is Brandon. Welcome back to the Geek XP. Before we get into this newest Steven Universe episode review, we've got a couple on deck after this one. Just want to go over, I apologize for my absence. Life decided to get more complicated than it usually is. Recently got laid off at my job, and so now my girlfriend and I are figuring out moving and income stuff. She's starting grad school in the fall, so we're going to be moving again, and it's a whole bunch of stuff. So while my life was sort of already full before, and I had a hard time putting this time aside to make videos, it just got worse. Fortunately, the other guys on the channel have been super awesome in putting out content for you guys, the Ocarina of Time streams, Mario Kart, all this other great stuff that they're putting out, Guardians of the Galaxy too, so they have the reviews, Toy Box. I'm super grateful for them to help keep content on this channel while I'm sort of figuring stuff out, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So that's sort of my current state of affairs at the moment, but let's get into this newest episode of Steven Universe and my review. So this episode, Lion 4 Alternate Ending, is, at first I thought it was going to be another goofy episode, and I don't know why, because the Lion episodes always deal with Steven and his mom. He's sort of hit, Lion is, could be a girl or a guy, Lion is Steven's link to his mom by some mysterious way. We haven't sort of figured that out yet, and a lot of the characters, frustratingly to me, don't seem to want to pursue as to where Lion came from or how he came to be. We can theorize that he is linked to the Pride of Lions that Rose Quartz was with in the episode we were like reading through Buddy's journal when he was exploring. So I should have known this was going to be a more intense episode rather than just like a goofy slice of life filler episode. I hate calling it filler because all the episodes are important for Steven's growth. But anyway, just as a sum up of the episode, Steven is going through the recording, the tape that his mom left for him. And he's playing it back and forth all the time. He's trying to figure out what his mom is trying to tell him. Like, there's got to be some special message in here. That, you know, he's got this magic destiny and he wants to figure out what it is because there's so much expected of him, and the conflict with the crystal gems and the homeworld gems is starting to come to a head. There's a conflict on the horizon, and Steven can sense that. And he wants to have a sense of what his destiny is supposed to be, why his mom made him. There had to be some reason. So he's like trying to decode it, he's trying to figure out what it means, and Lion spits up this key. And so Steven is trying to figure out, what does this key go to? Does it go to the chest inside Lion's mane? Does it go to something in her room? Does it go to something in one of the temples they visited? Because to him, there's like, aha! You know, Lion has, you know, helped me out before with this sort of stuff. This will unlock and let me know what my destiny is. Why Mom made me. She had some purpose behind that. And I think that is a result, sort of the other crystal gems. You know, they saw Rose Quartz through this particular lens, and while that frame that they sort of presented to Steven of Rose Quartz as this perfect, beautiful, talented, skilled, and, you know, strong warrior and leader and mother figure, we've started to see some cracks in there, some flaws, you know, things like with Bismuth and her relationship with Greg and Pearl, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. We've started to see more of the person behind the gem, which is sort of ironic in that the gems think they're so much different from humans, but in actuality, once they start, you know, at least when they're on Earth, we start to see some of the humanity in them. But now I think Steven has sort of adopted this sense that, you know, because he's the son of Rose Quartz, that, you know, there's this big destiny. And maybe Connie is inadvertently part of this. You know, she talks about his magical destiny because, you know, his life is so similar to so many of the fantasy novels that she loves. And so he's now getting paranoid about this. There has to be something. He sort of lost that innocence and lackadaisical feel that he had before. He was just sort of like enjoying life, doing things, and helping the gems out because he felt a connection with them as part of his, you know, history, part of his people, his culture that he's trying to learn about. So he's doing all this stuff, and he's like, what is my destiny? What is this thing? And he finds they go into the desert where they found Lion, and eventually, after hours of running, Lion leads him to this big doorway with this big keyhole for the key. Puts it in there, unlocks, and there's nothing. It's a bunch of weird human stuff, human garbage that Rose collected and put in there, but whatever structure held it has since collapsed. They could have just walked around. So Steven gets so frustrated, he's just like, why? You know, what's my destiny? I need to know. And finds another tape. And this one says, For Nora. And I am like, who is Nora? You know, I guess we'll find out. I also thought, like, this could also just be a tape that she picked up somewhere that someone didn't want, that it was from someone else for someone else, but it has her handwriting. So there was that. So when asking Lion to help him out, bargaining for the fact that Lion can vomit on his bed if he wants to, he takes him to his dad. He takes him to Greg, or they take him to Greg, and he goes up and he's like, Dad, what is this? And Greg seems totally calm about it. He's like, oh, wow, I thought I'd never see that again. And he puts it in, and we see almost the exact same videotape for Steven that we saw earlier. And at first I'm like, okay, so it's going to cut. Like, they were recording over it. They had a couple tapes maybe. And then we hear Rose. And she's just like, you know, it's the same stuff she said for Steven, but she's saying Nora. You know, like, there's all this possibility for you, Nora. You will be this, you know, you will be extraordinary. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, oh, they thought he was going to be a girl! Of course they thought she was going to be a girl. Oh, why didn't I think of this? And my first thought, I mean, at first I was like blown away because, like, of course they thought that their kid would be a girl because crystal gems are all female. So many air quotes, female. Of course they thought that their offspring would be a girl, and so that they planned for that, and maybe they made a new tape or edited one after the fact. And I'm like sitting there freaking out, but then it's revealed, you know, just like any parents, you know, especially they're not going to go to a doctor and get an ultrasound, you know, her body's an illusion made of hard light. So they don't know if it's going to be a boy or a girl. So they made 2 tapes, and well, during this whole episode, I'm sort of sitting there thinking, like, Steven, the whole point behind, you know, having a kid, and she pretty much spells it out, and I think he was searching for some deeper meaning. He wanted something more, you know, explicit and objectively, you know, just like, this is the thing that you're looking for that will make you feel like you have purpose. But Rose's whole thing that she loved about Earth and why and how different it was from the Crystal Homeworld was that with the normal homeworld gems and their homeworld is that everything and everyone has a specific purpose that's planned from them from the day they come out of the ground. You know, this is what you're going to do. This is who you are. This is what you do until you are no more. What she loves about Earth and what she loves about humanity is that it's all fluctuating and always changing and it's always uncertain. She finds that exhilarating. And I think, you know, that's why she decided to protect Earth. It's why she has this different approach to life than the other homeworld gems. And it's also why she wanted to have Steven. She wanted, I think, even though she wouldn't be there, to be, in some part, experience what it is to be human. Even if it's just through an offspring. To her, that would be an amazing thing. To create something that is almost gem, but gets to live a human life. And that was the whole point, that, like, Steven doesn't have to be anything. This entire episode is like, who am I supposed to be? And for me, the whole point of you know, this arc with him trying to figure out what he's supposed to do is that, like, Steven, you get to choose who you want to be. Your mom gave you that choice. And I think he sort of lost sight of that. He's been spending a lot of time with the crystal gems, and I think he sort of forgot. Or I've never really realized that's what his mom wanted for him. That, you know, if he just wants to be a kid, he can be a kid. If he wants to be a crystal gem, he can be a crystal gem. If he wants to try to balance it out, he can do that. And so at the end, you know, his dad explains, like, we didn't know who you were gonna be. Parents never know who their kid is going to be or what they're gonna be like. And Steven's just like, so she just wanted me to be your kid? And he's like, yeah. Is that okay? And Steven's just like, yes. And there's just this relief that comes off of him, that, like, he had this expectation, because he's right when he says that, like, Garnet, Pearl, Amethyst, they don't say it explicitly, but there is this expectation from them on Steven. I think Garnet probably does the best at trying to make it so that he doesn't feel that as much. there is very much a sense from them that he's supposed to do something. That, you know, we lost our leader and sort of like a mother figure, and for Pearl, like her love, I guess. You know, there had to be a reason. Rose Quartz must have foreseen something, that this was going to be our pivotal tool for that. My phone just went off. And maybe that sort of got to Steven. But for me, you know, I was just sort of watching it as like a personal sort of like philosophy, is that like, you know, you are who you choose to be. That, you know, if you want to be a certain kind of person, then it's up to you to make those decisions so that you are that person. And it doesn't take long for those decisions you make and who you interact with and the things that you do to start being reflected back at you. And you'll start getting rewarded, or, you know, in some cases maybe punished for those decisions on who you want to be. And that, you know, that freedom is so very human, and I love that, you know, it didn't take too long for Steven to figure this out. I think, you know, in this episode we see him get a little stressed out. We see him sort of stray away from his free, childlike, I mean, he is still a kid, but he was very much a free spirit before. He just liked being happy, making other people happy, and protecting them. And in this episode we see him get a little bit more anxious about something specific that he's supposed to do, and I'm glad we got to see that relief from him. I thought this was a great episode. I thought that for a heavier episode, even though it didn't delve into a lot of the lore and maybe push us further in the Homeworld Gem conflict, I know I really like that because it becomes really exciting. There's usually some big reveal or a crazy diamond musical duo, which is delightful. But this one, I think, hits a very good thing, and something that this show continuously does well is through their stories and their episodes, they address something that is a human problem, us being humans as the audience members, can relate to and understand and learn something from that. And many of us, I feel, because of the way life is presented to us through television, through our books, movies, and all that sort of stuff, through social media, we have a sense that we're supposed to have things figured out at a certain point. That, you know, even through high school, you're supposed to graduate high school, go to college, already knowing what you're supposed to do with your life. When you've only sort of lived a simulated demo version of what life is like, you don't know what you're going to want to do. Like, a lot of people struggle with that. You know, I struggle with that. It's a very, you know, rare person who very early on finds the thing that makes them feel fulfilled and satisfied, that they can push into a career and, you know, sustain themselves because, you know, of our social structure. That's a whole other conversation. But there's this sense and of a lack of purpose, of a lack of there's no drive, because for a lot of people, they don't know what they're doing their things for. And so for Steven, we sort of have this moment where he is looking for that. He is looking for the thing that will tell him objectively, this is what you're supposed to do. Because for a lot of us, we wonder about that. You know, all through school, the way, you know, it's structured is it like, you know, you look for the right answers, this is the right answer, you learn it, you memorize it, and you recite it. And then, but then life is so much messier than that. It's so much more, you know, situational and subjective in so many cases. There is no one easy answer for everything, because everyone's life is different. And that's sort of the whole point of being human, and what Rose finds so exhilarating in it, and something that we should take from it. You know, and you know this. You know, some people say like, "This is a lot, Brandon. Maybe you should just relax." And maybe I should. But I'd like to. You know, this show is one of those good examples of a children's show that is made by adults who want to translate something to their audience, more than just a gag, which is fine if you just want to do like straight comedy. But this is a show that, you know, the writing hits at something really meaningful. And so I'd like for us to be able to talk about it, because I think that's what makes it stand out. It's what makes shows like this and Adventure Time and I guess Young Justice is a different flavor of that sort of thing. But a show that is frivolous and fun at times, but then at other times isn't afraid to deal with tricky social situations and problems. I have an uneven part of my beard here. It's bothering me a lot. I need to trim that today now. Anyway, and for this show, it addressed something that I think is very prevalent to a lot of young people now, in that finding something to do with your life that is fulfilling, that makes you have a sense of purpose. And also the realization that it isn't predetermined. You can choose that for yourself and find something that you enjoy, that makes you feel fulfilled, and that you have that freedom of choice, even though it doesn't always feel that way. It's delivered in a slightly different vessel in that, Steven is magic, he's part alien, all that sort of stuff, but you can take the base of that message and take it forward, and I think it's a really good one. I think it's sometimes more fun to just sort of get lost in Steven's story and the conflict with the crystal gems and the homeworld gems and the secrets that have yet to be revealed. We get really into that, but it's nice when you have these heavier episodes that deal with something that is a human issue for Steven that we can use to learn more about ourselves. So I think this is a really good example of that. I think the next episode is The Good Lars, which I foresee being more of a filler slice of life episode about Lars's arc in the name. And then we'll see. I don't remember what the episode after that is. I've got 3 episodes to watch today, and I'm going to get those reviews to you guys out as soon as possible. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode, of my review of it. So leave your comments down below. Like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more future content. We are sort of in a weird transitionary period, at least for me, but thankfully the other guys are being super awesome and putting out content regularly for the channel. So you guys have been watching Geek XP. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay geeky, my friends. God, that is so obnoxious.